just to take some water or use the toilet, and we'll come back 11:20. Thank you. So coming back, I see that Michael is here. So to open the block statistics, I would like to call Michael Nagy from the UNECE, UN Economic Commission for Europe, to give his speech. Welcome, Michael.
Hello, Gustavo. Can you confirm that you can hear me and also see my presentation?
I can hear and see your presentation, yes.
Thank you very much. Yes, so good morning, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you to the organizers for giving me the opportunity to present our work of the UNECE Task Force on Measuring Circular Economy. Let me start with just a very short overview. What is the Conference of European Statisticians that actually gave us the mandate for this work? Because the term European is sometimes a bit misleading in the name of our organization, and specifically for the Conference of European Statisticians, where the geographical scope is wider. Actually, this conference is the UNECE governing body in statistics, which consists of the heads of national statistical offices of 65 countries that are listed here, the chief statisticians of international organizations, and a number of partner organizations. So why is this so important to know? It's because sometimes those guidance documents that we are developing, it's considered as a bit a slow process of doing this. But on the other hand side, when we achieve on a certain consensus of these outcomes, it's widely accepted. And this Conference of European Statisticians Bureau carries out on a regular basis so-called in-depth reviews. So they select key topics for an in-depth review every year to improve coordination of statistical activities, to identify gaps or duplication of work across international organizations, and to address emerging issues. And Measuring Circular Economy was chosen for an in-depth review in February 2020. And the paper was presented and finalized in October 2020. So this was under the leadership of Finland and a broad collaboration with experts from different countries and international organizations that you can see here on this slide. And this was actually the basis for the establishment of a so-called task force for developing guidance on measuring of circular economy. So what were the main issues that were identified by this in-depth review? So I think the key message here is that there is no single or internationally agreed upon definition of a circular economy, but all definitions used have many common elements. And consequently, this results in several important issues and questions related to measuring the circular economy. And we list here a few of them, and many of them have already been also mentioned by previous presenters today. So one important issue is the measurement scope when we discuss measuring circular economy. We need a common understanding of the concept and actually what should be measured. So what is in and what is out of the measurement. Definitions and classifications. Existing statistical classifications have been developed for the linear economy and thus require a review and sometimes harmonizations. Data availability and fitness. So the current knowledge of circularity largely concerns trends in energy, material flows, and waste, while there are important data gaps such as the effect of actions that relate to smarter product use and manufacturing, collecting systems, or extending the lifespan of products. Measurement and monitoring of the environmental, social, and economic outcomes along the value chain requires improvements. Then also the coordination across institutions and even within the national statistical offices. So NSOs cannot provide data for all the different aspects of the circular economy, and there should be engagement with other data providers and users, particularly policymakers, civil society companies, and research companies. then it's also not so easy to understand the demand and expectations by users, such as policymakers, but also the research community. There is a need to react quickly at times to new data needs, and this can be a challenge for national statistical offices where processes are rather slow and focused on quality. The dissemination, there are new methods and tools are needed to understandably and efficiently communicate to the different users. And of course, there are a list of other issues that are of relevance, such as measuring the interlinkages between circularity, climate neutrality, and pollution, as well as the impacts on the social domain. So the list is long. I just would like to give you one example on how the discussion on the measurement scope is going on and which challenges we have to face here. So there are conceptual issues, but there are also issues related to policy priorities in countries. Let me start with the conceptual issues. The question is basically, or one of the questions is, which activities are within the measurement scope of a circular economy? So some economic activities are widely accepted as being integral aspects for circularity, for example, recycling or waste management in general. But there are several activities where this is less clear. So, for example, design, leasing, maintenance. Is this within the measurement scope of a circular economy? Yes or no, and to which extent? But also the question is related to the resources. We know the circular economy is about keeping resources, material, products as long as possible in the economy. But when we talk about resources from a measurement perspective, which resources are we talking about? It's clear for most materials and resources, but what about freshwater in energy? Should we have in the measurement scope of a circular economy the full freshwater circle or only certain aspects of it? And the same question is related to the energy. So we need here a kind of pragmatic, practical approach for these questions. Which thematic areas are in the measurement scope? It's clear for materials, flows, and waste. And as we said, there is always a bit the danger that we focus too much on the waste. We have to go beyond that. But it's less clear for areas which are interlinked: climate change, the social aspects, employment, and so on. So to which depth is this included in the measurement scope? These are questions we have to deal with. But then we have another challenge that, of course, the policy focus is different in countries and regions. And I have here some examples from which I've taken from the in-depth review and from the ongoing work of the task force. So, for example, in Finland, one of the key questions is to measure the share of circular economy related activities in the different industries. Canada has a focus on plastics waste. Mexico is looking at the benefits obtained from each product cycle. So if you keep products in the loop, what are the additional benefits? What are the additional costs? Colombia, which is, I think, the presenter after me, had in their first report a focus on the transformation of production chains. And we have already heard about the EU Action Plan themes, which is quite a long list of themes where we have to think about how far are they involved in the measurement scope that we are going to develop. And we have seen already several examples today of how circular economy related information can be provided and shared. There are different approaches. For the material and waste part, Sankey diagrams and infographics are being used. So you see here one example again from the Netherlands. It's from 2014 and one from Eurostat. What you can also see in the Netherlands example, and I think there was just a discussion about it, also about the stocks, which is an important aspect to buffer a little bit the time dimension that is so important in looking at the life cycle of products. So there's a different ways of producing this, and our guidance will also go into this direction of how we can present such things in the best way. This is an example from Mexico where they discussed the presentation of disadvantages and benefits obtained in each product cycle related to operating costs, material costs, employment, economic benefits in general, there's recycled material value and so on. So this is all defined by their national policy questions that are being addressed with this kind of analysis. This is an example from Finland. using indicator sets and indicator framework for the circular economy, for the different elements of the circular economy. And for example, here I have the example for consumption, flea market trade. So they try to produce indicators on a regular basis that are describing the situation in the circular economy and the different dimensions. So what are now the main objectives and activities of our task force on measuring circular economy? The working period is from February 21 until December 22. The main objective is to draft practical guidelines for measuring circular economy, including a definition of the measurement scope, which is a challenge in itself. The clarification of key terms and definitions from the measurement perspective, which is another challenge because we know that different expert communities are defining key terms and definitions sometimes a little bit different. And we need really a kind of common understanding from the measurement perspective and link it with existing definitions that we use in statistics. Then the identification of key statistics and indicators needed from the policy point of view, and identification of data sources for measuring the circular economy. And of course, building upon existing frameworks, such as the system of environmental economic accounting to the maximum extent possible. And also describing the required incident collaboration. So we are fully aware that we're not the only ones working in this area. Other colleagues, presenters have already mentioned other international expert groups that are working on this maybe from a different viewpoint. But alignment of work of our EC task force is crucial. And in particular, we align with the United Nations Committee of Experts on Environmental Economic Accounting, with related work of OECD. We take on board, of course, in consideration the European monitoring framework, which has already been mentioned several times, the Bellagio process, the UNEP methodological work on the economy-wide material flow accounting, the work of the platform for accelerating the circular economy, and also the related work of ISO, which we also had heard of already. So there's lots of cross-pollination among those expert groups, so that we really align as much as possible. And with OECD, we even try to align our work plans, and we are considering to have a joint OECD UNECE publication on guidance for measuring the circular economy. Status of work. So the work is currently ongoing in 3 task teams until February 22. We have 1 task team working on a conceptual monitoring framework, which is led by OECD and the European Environment Agency. We have a second work package or task team working on the measurement framework, which has quite progressed. This is this task team where we discuss the measurement scope, the data sources, terms and definitions, and so on. And we have a third task team working on suggestion of indicators for measuring circular economy, which is led by UNEP, and where the work also has progressed significantly recently. I will close my presentation here with a list of the members of the task force, so some names might be familiar to you, and if I'm happy to respond to any questions that you might have. And over to you, Gustavo. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you for the nice presentation. Let's see if we have questions. So I'm checking here, just seconds. We don't have questions in the chat apparently, but I have a few questions. So I did like your presentation very much because you somehow show that it's possible to measure circular economy, even though we don't fully agree upon a definition of circular economy. And this is maybe one of the big challenges within the circular economy, science and policy. And that reflects in statistics. And also you showed some graphs from Mexico and Finland, especially the one from Mexico, that pinpoints that it's possible also to measure the benefits of circular economy. Very often we think about, okay, let's set this statistics on circular economy, and we think on the damage that we do not create, which is great and important. But also we create some benefits that comes with the the targets and the targets that are created for circular economy. Can you maybe talk a bit about this, the benefits of the circular economy? Maybe just one comment. Maybe Ricardo. Thank you for joining. Can you maybe not share your screen just yet, so we have the Q&A from Michael? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Gustavo. I think I'm not in a position now to say much about it, because my job is really like to put this information together and to come up with let's say with suggestions how we could. What is needed to measure to be measured, right? So what is the information need from the policy side and management side to let's say to move towards a transition of the circular economy? And of course, one aspect is to promote the circular economy by showing the benefits. So I think this is one integral aspect, but also to see what can the policy do to create enabling policies and incentives for businesses to participate in a circular economy. And one challenge, and this is more, I think, more a policy-related discussion rather than a monitoring discussion. I think we are all aware here that there are lots of benefits of a circular economy, let's say from the societal point of view. But the question is, how can we show the benefits to the business sectors? Why do we still have a situation where we have to deal with planned obsolescence and things like this? Why do we still have a situation where producers benefit a lot from short life cycles rather than from activities that would support the circular economy, and which could also be a niche for businesses and to create also other kind of income? So I cannot answer this question now. I'm very happy that we have some examples where benefits of a circular economy are shown, and I think we can simply gradually improve this. But I think we have to go down also to the micro level, not only showing the benefits from the macro level, because I think this is pretty clear. There are lots of benefits in terms of from the macroeconomic perspective, but also from the environmental perspective. But how to show the benefits from the microeconomic perspective, from the micro perspective, I think this is a big challenge where I would be happy to learn from others how this could be done. So really to have an incentive for the industries, for the businesses, to make this move towards a circular economy, to go to longer life cycle products rather than having short life cycle products. So sorry, there is no clear answer from that on media. Lots of questions and question marks, and I think we're trying to hit a moving target here. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So there's one more question from Maria Krasteva from Austria, I believe. How do you cooperate with ISO for the circular economy? So the comment that you made before.
Yeah. So as I mentioned also earlier, we're in a phase of setting up this liaison partnership with ISO. I just got the information that this has been approved. And we are just waiting for feedback from ISO so that we can engage in this work. I know that ISO, and it has been presented earlier, is doing a lot of ground-breaking work in that regard. And I think our objective from the task force can be to align as much as possible with that, so that our key messages remain the same, even if the ISO work, of course, is more addressing the business level, and we are more addressing the governance level and more the macro level. But I think we should be consistent with, let's say, the type of indicators that we select, with the nomenclature that we are using, with the way how we're selling our products, that it's clear from the beginning that we are selling kind of products, or we're producing products which are complementary with each other. And This is the objective. How this will be then in practice, we have to find out once this liaison partnership has been established.
Okay, thank you so much for the presentation and the answers. So now I would like to call Mr. Ricardo Valencia from the Colombian Department of National Statistics to give his speech. Welcome, Ricardo.
Hello, Gustavo. Just a little question. I'm seeing that there is some options of languages. Is there any option?
Just select English below, and you can share your screen, or maybe Xenia can share her screen.
Okay, no, I can share. I can share my screen. So please let me know when you're seeing the PowerPoint presentation, please. It should be displayed right now.
No, I cannot see it yet. Can you try again, please?
We can see it.
We can see it, yes.
You can?
Gustavo.
Oh, that's strange. I cannot see it. Okay, but then, yeah, please continue.
Okay, thank you, Gustavo. I have to confess that I'm a little nervous because of the language, but also because of listening to Michael. I noticed we're taking some conceptual risk in the work we're doing in Colombia in measuring circular economy, as we're developing our information system without these agreements, global agreements on the concepts. But let's see, what do you think about our work in development? Well, the first thing I want to share with you is Colombia launched a national circular economy strategy, and in that strategy, we received the task of developing an information system, trying to put together different statistical information on circular economy. Of course, we understand this system as the interaction of the different institutions that produce any kind of information related with what we understand as circular economy. And for that, we have developed a very, I think, very kind of simple conceptual framework to try to put together all the elements in that. So the main objective of our information system is to integrate the statistical information that meets quality requirements in order to make it available in an adequate manner to be used as an input for decision and policy making on circular economy. As we always do in the statistical offices, we use the generic model of statistic production, and we review not only the international experience, but inside Colombia, we check 466 statistical operations, and we detected that in 113 entities produced those statistical operations, and we check that 40 of those statistical operations produce some kind of related indicators on circular economy in several themes, as agriculture, livestock and fisheries, construction, mining and energy sector, environmental resources under use, health, household, public utilities, environmental conditions, economic accounting, standard of living. I want to stop here for a moment, because one of our conceptual goals is to link the social systems with the economic systems and with the environmental systems. So we use households surveys to check some practices of the households on helping to go to a circular economy. We also have information on waste, services, and transport. But as the statistical operations were not always designed to recover information on circular economy, we also made a work of evaluating administrative records. We review 448 administrative records produced by 85 entities, and we detect that 16 of those administrative records produce some kind of information related to circular economy, and themes are as mining and energy sector, waste, household, public utilities, transport, environmental protection, management, and citizen participation. So I want to right now we begun this work in the 2019 year, and what we did was taking some additional steps on the information we already was producing as the satellite account on environmental and economy, and we have published since the beginning of that process 3 national reports on circular economy, and we will publish the 4th report this December the 2nd. In the first circular economy report, we present 44 indicators. For those interested in giving a look to the report, the links is in the presentation. In the second report, we include 23 indicators, and this is the kind of, let's say, conceptual framework or the conceptual map we use to put the indicators in different areas to organize them. So we use the more general circular economy approach. In the first block, you can see we publish indicators to illustrate how the demand for environmental assets and economic systems put pressure to the capacity of environment to reproduce the goods and services, but also for non-renewable resources, which are the volume of the stock and the rhythm in which we demand and use that stock. In the second block, we put together indicators trying to illustrate the preservation or loss of value of materials in the production systems. In the third block, we publish indicators to illustrate the pressure on ecosystems due to waste disposal. And also we publish some indicators, some kind of context indicators to show enablers of the circular economy. Some examples of those indicators: in the first block, demand for environmental assets and ecosystem services are water productivity in the manufacturing industry, percentage of households according to the fuel energy they use for cooking, main means of transportation used by workers, intermediate consumption of energy products by economic activity, availability of mining reserves, rate of extraction of mining energy resources, water use distributed by economic activity, socioeconomic characterization of the head of household, of the households that carry out some environmental practice in waste, energy, and water resources management for household consumption, energy intensity by economic activity. This is an example of some indicators trying to show efficiency in the use of resources by the economy, and some other example of indicators you can see here in the presentation. In the second block, we're publishing indicators on cogeneration and self-generation of energy with energy from waste, a percentage of buildings with water-saving systems and energy-saving systems and alternative energy system, percentage of households that have practices at home to reduce water and electricity energy consumption, thousands of tons of raw materials from waste used by manufacturing industry, percentage of households that have practices at home to reduce water and electricity energy consumption, share of value added of the materials recovery activity in total national value added, share of renewable energy consumed by economic activity, and some other indicators. And in the third block, we published some indicators on proportion of waste for final disposal from the manufacturing industry, production efficiency by industrial division group, percentage of industrial wastewater treated in a safe manner, percentage of households that separate waste in the source, household waste disposal method, and some other. And in the fourth block, enablers of circular economy, we publish information on green jobs and jobs associated with environmental activities following the guidelines of the International Labor Organization, share of environmental taxes as a percentage of total taxes, and in general, the effort of the government on environmental activities. Well, this is the numbers on indicators on our third reports, but from the second report, we began to publish Sankey diagrams. As all of you know, the Sankey diagram is the graphical representation of information about any transfer process between two or more units that exchange materials and energy, money, among others. This tool was initially created to represent efficiency in energy flows. And for that, we use the result of the supply use tables for the flows in physical units of the environmental and economic accounts of energy, water, forest, and materials. And because of that, we are in the possibility of showing to the different audiences of the statistical office these complete flows on different issues. Here we're looking at the solid waste and waste product flows for all the economy, so we can present a visual presentation of the flows that allows us to see that almost something around the 50% of all the waste and waste products have some kind of circularity in the Colombian economy, not just recycling, but some other uses as energy creation, by example. Here we present the Sankey flow for flow of energy products from the kind of energetic products we use, how the supply consolidates, and how this supply is being used by different activities. And here we have an example of flow of wood logs from the consolidation of the supply and the use of that supply for different sector and uses. Here we're representing the government funding and spending on environmental activities with a lot of detail, flows of water, air emission flow, and I'm sorry, I lost some of the presentation. But what we have done is we create a group of several national entities that produce this kind of information, and we create this information system on circular economy. And we were working all the time in developing new activities on how to close the gap between the supply and the demand on information. By example, for the next year, we're including a set of circular economy questions in all the structural economy surveys we have on manufacturing, services, commerce, transportation, and construction. And we're planning an economic census for the year 2023, where we're including circular economy questions for all the economy that will allow us to have a very detailed description for the economy of how circular we are right now. And at the same time, we're working in some additional developments on satellite accounts. We're developing a conceptual framework on circular economy satellite account, trying to measuring the circularity of all the economy using the input product matrix. We are developing a satellite account on bioeconomics and also some other satellite accounts to grow the supply of statistical information on circular economy for all the users in our country. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ricardo, for this nice presentation. I don't know if we have questions. Just a second. Yes, I do have one. So it's I was wondering if those indicators were already available when you started gathering them, or you developed specific indicators for to measure the circular economy.
Yes, thanks for the question, because this was a happy situation for us, because we thought that we just had information for the recycling rate and some developments on the satellite account on economic and environment. But when we made the review of all the statistical operation and all the administrative records, we found something around 110 indicators that we were producing right now in some statistical operation or administrative record. But the conceptual framework we were using were very short. We were just focused on this international system on environmental and economic accounts of national United Nations, but we challenged our teams and the teams of all the other entities of the state to think if we had additional indicators in some other operations based on more broad conceptual framework. And well, that's what we found. But of course, we noticed that our traditional statistical operations didn't have enough questions to measure circular economy, and that's why we're introducing this set of questions in our structural economic surveys.
Okay, thank you. Also, which is this is interesting because you say that's okay. trying to link the presentation before from Michael, that circular economy definitions are not really set, and we have definitions for statistics that are based on a linear model of production and consumption, but still and although we don't show, it's not possible to show the whole complete picture of the circular. And we can see that through your presentation, because you show several types of indicators that show a story. But overall, do you think, or are you thinking on a specific indicator that are more sort of lead indicator, or
yes. Yes, well, it's from my personal point of view, no? But I think that some indicators that contain dense information are those indicators on efficiency of the use of resources. Those indicators that relate to us the production with the pressure or use of environmental goods and services. So we have some indicators that relate the amount of waste the sectors create with the value of the production they're putting on the economy. We're publishing some other indicators on how the growth of added value is related with the use of environmental goods. So this gives us a more, I think, complete view of how efficient is the use of nature by the different sectors of the economy. But I want to also emphasize is that we're including the households on the information system on circular economy. In different scenarios, I hear people talking about how households can save the planet alone. I think this is kind of naive point of view because they don't have all the decisions we need to make taken in their hands. But we can check, looking at the households, what is the demand on energy we have to supply. How is the culture on having practices on energy efficiency, water efficiency, waste efficiency? So this is a kind of baseline of yes, the culture we face in our countries on circular economy. And also we working on some developments to relate poverty, multidimensional poverty, and pressure on the environmental systems, because you can see easily the link between high levels of poverty and pressure on environmental systems to get the resources that the households need. So yes, I like to emphasize in including in household statistics in all the system on circular economy information.
Thank you. Yes, I fully agree that the consumption part and the production part are complementary, and we don't really solve the circular economy problem or measurement with one or another. We need the complementarity of both, as the households that you mentioned. So, well, I thank you very much for the nice presentation. And I would like now to call the lunch break for those who will have lunch. And we come back at 1:10 here again for the
Thank you, Gustavo.
the fourth part. Thank you very much.